Greetings, and welcome to the Modern Alchemist channel. I'm Aubrey Forrest, the Modern Alchemist, and this is Esoteric Schmackdown, where I take a singular esoteric idea or concept and clarify it into something that we can all understand. Since Halloween is just around the corner, we're going to take a rather unique approach to examining various mythologies relating to monsters, heroes, or gods, considered to be rather hairy, and answer the question, why is Harry hairy? This discussion began on Patreon, where in our discussion on the Kybalion and the principle of correspondence, I mentioned that Harry Potter could be seen as an astrotheological archetype of the hero-savior aspect anciently associated with the planet Mars. I then gave a brief linguistic line of connection, linking names and meanings together. Still, I felt I could do a bit more, and it seemed like something fun to share with everyone, not merely my patrons on Patreon, because who doesn't like a good esoteric schmackdown? Am I right? With that said, let's begin. I've often wondered, why is it that when we look at an alien sky in the movies, you know the ones, that have a single sun blazing away nearby, perhaps two suns in the distance, or several worlds passing in near orbit, why is it that that sky feels right, and our sky seems so empty? Is it an ancient memory that is written into us so deeply that the sight of its absence causes a kind of insanity to erupt within us, and we dare ask if we are the only ones within the cosmos? Why does our empty sky feel so empty? I believe that the absence of planetary gods has created within us a kind of confusion and disillusionment. As Manly P. Hall writes in The Secret Teachings of All Ages in his discussion on the origins of idolatry, "Then came the age of idolatry. The mysteries decayed from within, the secrets were lost, and none knew the identity of the mysterious man who stood over the altar. It was remembered only that the figure was a sacred and glorious symbol of universal power, and it finally came to be looked upon as a god, the one in whose image man was made. Having lost the knowledge of the purpose for which the mankin was originally constructed, the priests worshipped this effigy until at last their lack of spiritual understanding brought the temple down in ruin about their heads, and the statue crumbled with the civilization that had forgotten its meaning. This is why so many fail when they seek to understand or unravel the mysteries of our ancient mythological past. The assumption is that we share the same frame of reference and gaze upon the same sky as they did. Just as those in Hall's discussion on idolatry failed to divine the purpose of the sacred statue upon the altar, so too mainstream mythologists are unable to make the connection between the myth and the planet, because what we see today is nothing like what was seen 3, 6, or even 12,000 years ago. To resolve the distance between ourselves and our ancient ancestors, I've devised a rather clever solution and found it hidden in plain sight within the amazing world of Warcraft. Oh yeah, we're going to enter the world of Warcraft so that I can walk you through some of these ideas. I've been playing World of Warcraft as my own personal holodeck of sorts since 2004. I love this game, and not merely because it holds a depth of narrative capable of maintaining my interest and speculation as my knowledge of the esoteric and the occult increased over the years. It is because there is a richness and spirit to the world of Azeroth that is amazing and vaguely familiar. When I began, I was like most everyone else, looking for a great fantasy MMORPG. Today, I treat the game as an opportunity to explore an esoteric masterpiece while having a whole lot of fun. As I play Warcraft, I allow myself to delve completely into the nature of a given character, and allow it to become a kind of meditation wherein I can define and explore my own nature and motivations as nuanced by the restrictions placed upon me by the character in question. Because I am an esotericist, Each character offers me an opportunity to explore ancient mythologies, ideas, or concepts by virtue of the name I choose for my avatar. Like in any esoteric application of a name, the name inspires the character, meaning that it fills the character with spirit. And it is the spirit that embodies the character of that name with the attributes, qualities, and properties associated with that name. I know, it may seem like a lot, but I've discovered that for one's passion to actually be their passion, it should touch upon all aspects of their life to one degree or another. In this way, the passion is constantly nourished and fed by whatever activity you happen to be doing. Greetings, and welcome to my garrison on the now lost world of Draenor. My avatar, Professor Chaos, will be your guide. And yes, this was a very purposeful reference to Butter's alter ego on South Park. Before we start gazing at the sky, I thought it might be productive to take an opportunity to clarify a concept I introduced a couple years back in Essentials of Practical Alchemy, Seeing Through the Eyes of Horus. It was in that class that I said that stars were eyes, and that constellations could be seen as beings or beasts covered with eyes, just as described in the book of Revelation in the New Testament. Well, here's a perfect example. This is my mount, Starstrider, who was patterned after the constellation Pegasus, literally. In this light, you can see how my mount could be seen as covered in eyes from head to foot, because stars were considered to be eyes by our ancient ancestors. What is remarkable is that the actual constellations within our sky also actually move, wiggle, and dance. This video from the European Space Agency shows this happening over time. Now you can see how our ancient ancestors could see them as animals or creatures in motion, because they are in motion. What blows my mind is that our ancestors were able to perceive this at all. Truly, it seems to me that we are ever playing catch-up to their greatness. All right, let's take a look at the skies and do some moon gazing. The god, monster, or hero in question that we are seeking is one that might appear as hairy. I mention all three categories because it really depends on who is telling the story. The farther back in our history we go, and the nearer the other planets may have been, the more godlike was their power. As the planets withdrew, their role in mythology diminished with them, and they were reduced from gods to heroes and monsters. In mythology, there are many who are seen as hairy and who have been associated with war, revolution, or conflict. It is interesting to note that if they are not themselves described as hairy, like Enkidu in the Epic of Gilgamesh or Esau in the Old Testament, then their clothes are often described as being made of hair, like the garments of camel hair worn by Elijah the Tishbite or John the Baptist. The hero Samson was also noted for his hair, and the loss of his hair equated to the loss of his power. This concept will be important later, so keep it in the corner of your mind as we continue our journey across the skies of ancient Draenor. I don't know what Blizzard calls this moon, but I've sat in game and wondered who put it there and who was consulted on its creation. It just seems like such an Easter egg to find within the game. As you can see by the nature and texture of the atmosphere surrounding the planet, that it appears to be hairy. But watch what happens as we move toward the mountains of the Shadow Moon Valley. Amazing. Wow. Look how the atmosphere completely transformed into what I would term as an increase in the moon's charged state, causing it to violently discharge these amazing streams of plasma. You can even see how these streams trail off into small ribbons of plasma that our ancestors may have once characterized as dragons, or as serpents that surrounded the head of Medusa, or as a hairy man being overcome by power and becoming a beast, a werewolf. The first instance that I know wherein a mythological being is characterized as a hairy, savage beast man is Enkidu of the Epic of Gilgamesh. I believe that our own hairy planet of myth and legend remained and has continued to remain a central focus to many of our ancient and modern stories. We need only look in our own solar system's many moons to see a similar discharge take place. This is not a fantasy moon. This is Enceladus, which orbits Saturn. You will note the same plasma fountains discharging from beneath the planet's surface, erupting toward the sky. This kind of activity can create vast craters on the surface and provides a viable explanation as to why most craters seen on the surface of Mars, Mercury, the Moon, or dozens of other surveyed bodies within the solar system are at 90 degrees to the surface plane, something that is virtually impossible as a meteor collision. So now you can visualize what our ancient ancestors may have seen as they looked upon the heavens 3, 6, or even 12,000 years ago. Having this knowledge avails itself as an effective tool when engaging the imagination during a meditation upon these ancient figures of legend noted for their much hair. It is very likely that each one, whether the name be Enkidu, Esau, Samson, Elijah, or just plain Harry, is but another name for the same being, the same celestial body. I'm certain I'm not the first to recognize this, largely because we've all seen it when we watched Thor Ragnarok. In that movie, you may recall Thor has a rather significant loss of power. First, it is his hammer. Then he gets a rather short haircut thanks to Stan the Man himself. Marvel takes special care to make this haircut a big deal. The loss of Thor's hair is literally tied to his loss of electrical potential. Since Thor's power literally is the control of electricity, lightning, his loss of power and the cutting of his hair are telling a much older story, one retold in the legend of Samson and Delilah, the woman who ruined Samson and stole his power by cutting his hair. This relates to werewolves in the same manner, because when the beast's hair is absent, his bestial power is gone, and like Samson, in legend, it is a woman who betrays the wolf, and the wolf is slain. So that's Esoteric Schmackdown. If you enjoyed it, please click like and leave a comment in the comments section below. And as always, thank you to all my patrons on Patreon. If you wish to express your support as an alchemy file, a friend of the channel, or even become a member, all you need to do is check out the Modern Alchemist channel on Patreon and see all the cool stuff we're doing and exploring there. A link has been provided in the description below. Have a very happy and safe Halloween, everyone. I'm Aubrey Forrest, the Modern Alchemist. I'll be talking to you soon.